Hi everybody, this is George Veater, and I have a special guest today. Before we're starting our bronc riding practice, this is Dawson Hay, and Dawson is one of the top bronc riders in the country right now. He's from Alberta, Canada, and so we want to hear a little bit about his story, and then he'll be helping us tune in our bronc riding when we get down to the pen. So I'm anxious, as well as I'm sure you're anxious, just to hear a little bit more about Dawson's career thus far in rodeo and things that are important to him, and a little bit about his family. So Dawson, tell us your story.
I started riding broncs when I was about 15 years old. From there, I just amateur rodeoed for a couple of years until I got my permit and got to come to a few rodeos down south here. And only went to about 15 or so rodeos down here in 2017, and then from 2018, I knew it was time I wanted to take my rookie card, try my best at winning the Rookie of the Year, and get to experience all the rodeos that my dad, who competed professionally for 21 seasons, I believe, and so I got to go down the road. I think we went to about 100 rodeos last year, and it was really cool to compete and see everything, and ended up getting to win the Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then tell us about this year, Dawson. I know you're just dealing with a little injury, so you have a little time off right now, but you had a really good winter run, and kind of tell us about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, this winter was really good. I knew my knee needed to have surgery on it. They told me, in December we got the MRI results and stuff, and I really wanted to push it back to March so we could compete through. Luckily, fortunately I had a good enough year last year to qualify to get into Houston and San Antonio and the bigger winter rodeos. So I wanted to compete there and get some money won where when I come back from my surgery, I'll still be getting into some rodeos, and luckily enough, I had a good winter. Got some money won at Fort Worth and San Antonio and Houston, and that cushioned the surgery a little bit, anyways.
No, that's awesome. And I know that I don't know where you're at right this second, but I know you were in the top 15, and you know where you're at.
Yeah, I think I was sitting in 13th or 14th position right now.
Yeah.
So, but there's some guys that are on the bubble pretty hard. So
right.
It's liable to change at any point.
Well, you'll be healthy for the summer run, and you have plenty of time to get to the NFR. But that's very exciting. Now, I met Dawson's dad, Rod Hay, who, as he mentioned, he was an incredible icon in rodeo and went to NFR forever from the time he was a young man, until he retired. And everybody knows who he is in this sport. What was it like growing up with a dad like Rod Hay?
It was really cool when we were, me and my older brother Logan, when we were, as far as I can remember, getting to go to rodeos. We'd plan trips out in the spring where we could come to some down here. I got to go to Redding, some California rodeos actually when I was really young, and Dad even had a car seat in the front seat of his pickup truck, and we got to tour around and then come the finals, get to watch the biggest rodeo there, and watch him ride there multiple times. It's always been a goal of mine to compete there myself. So it's pretty cool to even be in the running this year.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Dawson, can you talk a little bit about, in your mind, the fundamental, most important things to think about when you're riding broncs, and certain fundamentals, lifting and learning how to set your feet and spurring horses out good and all those kind of things. Can you kind of talk about, because you're good at all that, talk a little bit in your mind,
I think personally for me, it's been working at one thing at a time.
Yeah.
It's hard when you're trying to push doing everything perfect at there's so much going on. My whole career I've tried to constantly be working at one thing, and so if it's my feet, I'll be really trying to work on getting my feet better. And then when you're working at something like that, other areas start getting worse. So then it goes to lifting, and But for me, I think the most important thing is to constantly be trying to improve one thing at a time, and mental trying to keep confidence is a really hard thing to, you can be riding amazing and get in a slump and to be able to pull yourself out and tell yourself that you're it's going to turn around, you're going to draw better, saddle's going to feel better. It's easy to get into a slump, but it's the mental aspect of it, I think, is huge for sure.
Absolutely. Now tell us a little bit, if you don't mind. Do you have a ritual that you go through mentally before you get on, and kind of what are you thinking about and focusing on, and how do you get the mindset to perform ultimately?
I like to think about everything that I want to do and how I'm going to do it before the rodeo, as I'm warming up my saddle, staying focused in the dressing room and whatnot. But once my horse rolls in, I kind of like to just try and clear my mind, stay calm, collected, not overthinking one thing in particular, because I know with myself I fight that a lot, is I'll get to thinking about something too much, and then when I'm out there, you're trying too hard. And it should be a dance, not a fight. Is that Robert Ebbauer or Dan Ebbauer actually said that.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, cool. And it does seem like sometimes when you're trying too hard, it's just going the opposite direction, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I remember when I first went down to check out their college there. I was riding pretty decent at the time. I knew I could ride a little bit, and we went down there to check out the practice pen, and them guys are huge on spur outs and getting your horses marked out for 2 jumps and then following your ride up. And when I went down there, I had pretty good spur outs, always from my dad teaching me, but I really wanted to impress them guys and hold my feet, and I'd get out, I'd get in the chutes, and I'd know, and that's all I'd be thinking about. And I think I got on 5 horses there them 2 days, and it went horrible. I was sitting there, I'd get them spurred out or half spurred out and fall off, and then not spur, but it was because I was thinking, hold your feet, but there's a lot more that goes into that than just just putting your feet up there.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the, would you say at this point in your young career, what's the biggest highlight you've had?
Probably winning the Rookie of the Year last year was cool. I mean, it was a goal of mine from the start of the year, and competing at the Canadian finals was really cool against, I've watched my dad ride there, since I was really little, so it was cool to be there myself in the open Bronc ride. I made it in the novice beforehand, but Houston and making the 4-round at Houston has got to be one of the highlights for sure.
Huge. Yeah.
I didn't have it was just crazy, it kind of that week blows by, and then the 10-round, and then when I was in the 4-round, and I don't even know if it had sunk in yet, but I think I let the pressure get to me a little bit there. I had a horse that had bucked me off at the Canadian finals last year, and I don't know, there was a lot going on, and I ended up falling off, but it was still a pretty cool experience.
Yeah. I know just from one of the reasons why I invited you to come out and help us this weekend is I had heard several people that had been watching you ride say that as great as your dad was, watch out for this son coming up. He's got even more. A lot of people think as great as your dad was, that you have the potential to be even as great or greater, and I think everybody sees that in you. That's exciting.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. My dad, I know he's super excited watching me and my brother ride, and he figured it all out lots himself, and it, with his years of experience and the amount of bronc riders that he got to ride with and watch ride, and there's lots of areas that he helps us out with that maybe even he wasn't as good at, but he's seen so much bronc riding and been around it his whole life. It's incredible to have someone who can pick apart a ride so well.
Yeah.
And help you out. you may think this is wrong or this is wrong, and he's really good at being able to figure out, and he's studied our style since we've started too, so he knows exactly what to tell the guy when he's going through something tough.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. How important is it to travel with people that are the right people to travel with?
Yeah, I've learned that a lot in even just the couple of years that I've been doing it. If you got to surround yourself with people that are positive, people that want to see you do better. I've noticed in my own riding when I've been surrounded with people that aren't happy to see you do good as much as and
right.
they are just. For me, I ride a lot better when I'm around people that are happy, good to, they're winning, you're winning, they're excited. You feed off each other's energy,
right.
and when you're calling into a rig with someone and you guys aren't getting along and stuff like that, it definitely directly reflects on your bronc riding. You can. It's hard to say, but when you're showing up, you're happy to be there. You're with a good group of guys, and they want you to do better too. They're always rooting for you, telling you what you need to be doing. I think that's one of the biggest parts of being successful in this sport.
Yeah. I think also everybody that is maybe watching this that is not directly involved in rodeo, that's one of the rodeo's uniqueness, is that your traveling partner is your competitor, but he'll get off his bronc and then come help you get out on your bronc, and he's cheering you on and you're cheering them on, and there's this community feeling that's unique in our sport. I think
Absolutely,
it's very cool. Everybody wants everybody to do good. You're competing against yourself essentially to keep riding better. You know how you want to ride.
Yeah, that's
what you're focused on.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it's a judged event. So what the outcome doesn't really, it's out of your hands anyways.
Right.
It's why not be really happy for the guys who you're traveling with, and they're winning, you're winning. It's good to see.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I think too, as far as it being a judged event, sometimes the judge sees it the way you see it, and sometimes the judge doesn't, and part of being successful, well, I've noticed the people that I've been around a lot in rodeo that are the very successful people, the Billy Bauer and Dan Mortensen that I got to spend a lot of time with, they never ever spend time being sour. If they feel like they didn't get scored right, or they missed one out, they felt like they spurred the horse out, they just do not dwell on that. They're able to let it go and stay positive. And I think that's a real key, is because we all go through times, like Dawson said, where you're riding awesome and you feel like you can ride anything, and then you get put on your head and all of a sudden you're like, can I ride? You go through serious mental games, in this sport, and to be able to let the negative experiences go and to stay positive is a key for champions. So Dawson obviously has that, but that's a key.
Yeah. Lots of guys can get hung up on the judging end of things, and then they're worried. The guys that ride really good, they're gonna get scored.
Yeah.
Scored. The average outcome is always gonna be
right.
It's gonna be pretty well. So you see the guys that are constantly at the NFR. Every year you'll see guys that come into the NFR. They've got some big checks at some rodeos, but the guys that are always there in the top 10, it doesn't seem to matter how they were scored or what horses they drew throughout the year. They're able to take advantage of every opportunity.
Right. Yeah. No, so that's something that I've noticed, and I've noticed people since I'm a lot older, and I've been in and around the sport a long time, and I've noticed people with incredible potential that ride awesome, but mentally they let that defeat them. They let it bother them too much. If they went through a little slump, or they felt like they got screwed someplace, by a judge, and then they just focus on that. And it's kind of like life, You either get. I remember Ty Murray used to say, "You get bitter or you get better. It's your choice." When you have a negative outcome, and that's I think the key to Dawson and other champions is they get better instead of get bitter when it doesn't go their way.
For sure. You see, especially in this sport, there's guys that have been world champions to go on and not make the finals for,
Right.
sometimes 5 more years it takes,
Right.
or maybe never, like lots of guys that have been really, really successful, and then that goes directly back to the mental side aspect of it, that go on for years fighting different saddles and never make a quarter as much as they did the previous years when they were just, going full throttle, not worrying about anything.
Right. No, that's awesome. Now, maybe you could talk a little bit about equipment, about what's important to you in equipment. Have you been riding the same saddle for a while? And I know guys do get to doing that. They're changing saddles all the time. And
for me, I always rode a broken arrow. It's kind of an older style of saddle. It's they're not quite built up as much as some of the saddles you'll see nowadays. I rode it up until 2 seasons ago, and I actually had Leighton Green had bought a new doll, and he left his old one at my house, and I ended up getting on in it a few times. I liked it a lot. From there, I'd fix the riggings in it. I put a new tree in it. I've just been repairing the saddle ever since, keeping it going. But I think it's lots of guys are looking for that perfect feeling saddle that's just going to make everything better. It's going to make them a bronc rider. But I think more importantly is to find a saddle and learn how to ride it the best you can. Stay in it. Something that's you're not changing all the time. You can learn to get comfortable with the saddle, and in my opinion, whereas searching for something that's going to feel perfect, make you ride better, Well, looking back, like when my dad's was starting and throughout his career, lots of them guys never changed saddles for 10 years.
Yeah.
They didn't have great saddles, honestly. Lots of guys but they learned how to ride them themselves and figure out their style through riding the horse, not the saddle.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, it's another thing. Ty Murray, who's one of the greats in the sport, he used to say it's bronc riding, not saddle riding. You focus on riding the bronc, not on your saddle being perfect.
Yeah.
And he used to make fun of people that had to fine tune, even put just little tiny, spacers and stuff
in their stirrups.
Yeah, right. Just to try to make them perfect. And he wanted all those people that he was kind of coaching to not focus on that. Harry Rose is a PRCA judge and went to the finals years ago, and was great during his era. But I remember his saddle was like you're saying, Dawson. He had it his whole career, and he'd like bondo it together when it'd break, and he just learned how to ride in that saddle, and he just kept. It looked like it was gonna just explode apart in the day.
Yeah, and Billy Epauer, he rode the same saddle pretty well his whole career, and it was a Salisbury, I believe, and not many other people, I think, ever even qualified for the national finals in a saddle like that. He definitely. I think Billy Epauer could have rode a saddle pad and had the same career, though. He was so incredible.
Yeah, right.
But a lot of that stuff, like I've seen Zeke Thurston, at the Calgary Stampede, throw a brand new set of boards in and jump out, win Calgary, and him actually again, like their saddles got lost at Denver, or maybe it was Reno last year, and just bail into a new saddle, get it close, and be confident that he can ride if even when your equipment isn't set up exactly how you want it.
Right. No, that's awesome. Ming, do you have any questions for Dawson?
Yeah, I asked this to George a while back. Everybody falls in love with the sport. How did you fall in love with the sport?
I think coming from seeing it a lot growing up, looking up to, when you're surrounded with it your whole childhood, and your heroes are all cowboys. You want to be like them so bad when you're growing up, and then finding success in the sport. It makes you, it's so cool to be in the people's shoes that you always looked up to as a kid, and I think mostly just from my childhood, what made me fall in love with rodeo and saddle bronc riding especially.
Did you have a story you remember? I think for George, he was just jumping on a sheep, whatever he could jump on, you know.
Yeah, I mean cattle brandings and stuff. Even get thrown on a little steer when you're just little, 5 years old, and stuff like that sticks with you for sure.
Right, and both of you guys were talking about the dark moments when you had to come back out of it, and being positive. Do you remember? You're probably possibly going through yours right now, where you can't do what you love,
Yeah, it's tough watching all your friends and everyone going down the road and entering rodeos and watching check their draws and stuff. It's exciting, and you kind of take that for granted a bit when you're rodeoing. But luckily, I'm not out for too long with this. It's 3 months, so also I'm sure anxious to get back. But it's going to be definitely different. I've never had to sit out for this long before in my. Since I've started riding, I don't think I've ever took more than 2 or 3 weeks off without getting on a bucking horse. So it's definitely been changed a lot. I guess I'll have to find out how it's going to be, getting back in the rhythm. For me, I'm gonna try, just to not think about it, is not overthink it. Kind of try and pretend that, it hasn't changed a lot,
Right, because George has gone through multiple injuries and been able to feel like he's come back better than ever, and having that optimistic mindset, knowing that I'm excited for when I can come back, and not this is what I need to do so I can prevent that next time if I were to jump back on,
Yeah, and keeping positive as in the aspect. I mean, you can get back on and get hurt right away again. There's no telling when it's going to happen. You got to try not to be gun shy when you get back as well. Lots of guys, you'll see lots of guys that go through it and you wouldn't even know that they were hurt. They didn't miss a beat, and then other guys, they'll fight it for the rest of the year. So it's hard to say.
So speaking about the future, where do you see yourself in the future in this sport?
I want to just keep improving. I set goals at the start of every year. My goals last year were to, of course, try and be the rookie of the year and qualify for the Canadian finals. And this year, my main goal was to make the Canadian finals, and I got into Calgary, which was a goal of mine, and the national finals as well. So if I could do that, I'd be pretty fulfilled for the goals this year.
Wow. And then there's a lot of people that want to be at your level. For those who want to learn from you, if you could give them one sound advice, what would it be?
Just keep working on it. It's I don't think anyone's ever been to the point in their career where they're satisfied with how good they can ride. You always got to be working at becoming better, whatever level you're at. One step at a time. Keep. It's hard for anyone starting. And not losing your confidence that you can. It takes a lot of people a lot longer to. I think Billy Epbauer's first NFR he was 24 or 5 years old, and he competed at 21 NFRs after that. So, stay patient and trust yourself that you can do it.
So we talk a lot about your father. Well, how about your mom?
She's been really supportive throughout the whole thing. She's actually a school teacher, and but she's great. She's always really good to pick a guy up. She's obviously my biggest fan. I'm sure she's at as many rodeos as they can come to. They come down for San Antonio this year, and most of the Canadian rodeos that are close to us, she's there, and she's great to have. Always rooting for you and keeping, especially when you get down on yourself. I had a kind of a rough Canadian finals this year. She'd be the first one to pat you on the back and say, you can work through this. Get, you ride really good. You just keep pushing. Don't worry about it.
Right. So your father must taught you all the fundamentals, you know.
Absolutely.
Which one right now is on your mind that you want to try to improve?
Right now, I've been, working on a lot of upper body stuff all through last year. A lot of like being aggressive, but staying back has been what I've been working on a lot. I found if I keep the less movement up front, you can get your feet a lot faster instead of front to back motion. You watch like the right family, for an example. Their butt doesn't come this far to their seats. They're always back under their rein, and that's I've been trying to adapt to my own style, but I've been trying to focus lately on less movement up in the front and staying shoulders behind my hips, and obviously I've been trying to work on my feet too. That's a constant task to try and improve on it, and my speed a lot lately. I'd say that's mostly what I worked on this winter. Actually, was trying to improve the speed of my feet, getting to the front end quicker. Where you're getting marked at 20, 21, 22 compared to 20 when your feet are when you're getting your feet set twice as many times per ride, because you get that speed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome. And at Dawson's level, it's just a little tiny fine tuning. He's fundamentally extremely sound, and that's why he's and he's got a great attitude, and that's why he's here. That's why I wanted him to come to the ranch and work with us. And so
right.
It's just small, little small things.
So
right.
Always something.
Yeah, there is
for sure.
That's why that's another thing that I have always loved about the sport is you're never like there. You're never like, okay, I do everything perfect. I think everybody I remember, listening to Billy Upbauer talk about he never felt like he made the perfect ride, and
No.
every time we watched him ride, it looked perfect to me. So.
And my dad will say himself that he'd say I've been getting on for over 20 years, and he said the last year he was riding, he said I still was not near where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Still work. Never. He said it's an event that you'll never figure out 100%.
Right.
I think it makes it easier to just chase it, huh? Keep falling in love with it, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. No two horses are the same, really.
Yeah.
There's a lot that buck similar, but no. That's another cool thing that I really like about the sport. It's different every single time.
Yeah.
So what are you expecting this weekend with George?
I'm excited to see the arena and the horses. I've watched a ton of videos and seen it. It looks like a really awesome setup and a really awesome set of horses. I'm excited to get out there. I'm really not too sure what to expect. I guess we'll have to find out here in a little while.
Yeah. For me personally, I haven't. And I was explaining this to Dawson last night at dinner, but I've started, stop. It's been my sport, but not my primary focus my whole life. But this is my, closing chapter for my bronc riding career. And I've worked really hard to stay in shape physically, and I need to get my fundamentals a lot sharper, and to accomplish what I want to accomplish this year. And so I have Dawson, who's, less than half my age, but he's at that awesome level of rodeo, and I'm anxious just to be around him and pick his brain. And it's not just that; it's observing the way someone handles themselves is inspiration to me. That you can sense their mindset and the way they think about things. You don't just listen to them, but you watch them. So
right.
It was an opportunity for me just to be around Dawson. I've been watching him climb in the standings and do what he's been doing, and so it's a blessing that he was willing to come here.
Anything you want to ask George, Dawson?
Yeah, obviously, I'm sure that's what a lot of people would admire about you. How old are you?
56.
56, and in better shape than most guys that are in their 20s, and especially in a sport that's so rough, and keeping able to get on and improve even at your age is pretty cool.
Well, thank you, Dawson. For me, it's like always just considering life lasts forever. You're more the years have passed by and you go through your 20s, 30s, 40s, now I'm in my 50s, right? And you realize that the only non-renewable resource is your time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start asking yourself those questions. What can I be? You know, I've done the things I've done in my life, but what more can be done? And so I'm kind of at that point where I want to see what can be done at my age. I feel like I'm paying the physical price to stay in shape, but I'm not yet at the level that I was at when I rode the best. And so I'm just real humble about that. You know, I know what I need to improve. I want to get around the people that will lead the way towards that improvement. And again, I'm not trying to encourage everybody to ride Broncs in their 50s, but whatever it is in your life, you know, someday, Dawson, you're going to be 50 and you're going to be wherever you are in life trying to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish at that moment, right? And so
Absolutely.
my hope is that my little example, just like other people that have set an example for me, just shows you don't have to limit your possibilities as you get older. You have to think and adapt, but you can continue to, you know, evolve in your life no matter what age you are, and until you leave planet Earth, right? Remember, you completely live until you die. Don't get the two confused.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot.
All right.
That's it. All right. We'll wrap it up right there.